Hey all, and welcome back to Crazy Gamer Games. It's been a while since my last video because I've been working on some crazy stuff and trying to teach myself about these Arduinos microcontrollers so I can build this showpiece night robot that's gonna have all kinds of electronics and stuff and move a little bit, have a life display total, but today I want to get to basics on an Arduino. What is an Arduino? How can they be used? And go through some different things like that in the next few videos. Then we'll get on to designing and building the night itself. So this is an Arduino Uno. It's basically the baseline Arduino. It's bigger. It's got a large USB port. It's got a 2.1 millimeter jack, positive pin. It can take up to 12 volts, 1 amp, and it has a voltage regulator on there, so it can regulate it down to the 5 volts the Arduino uses. It uses an Atmega chip, and it has a bunch of digital pins. It's got 14 digital pins, and then it has 6 analog pins. It can do I squared C. We'll get into that later for when we do the OLED display for the night. But it can do pulse width modulation, which means it can simulate an analog signal with a digital signal. So it just switches the current on and off at a set intervals to create what appears to be pulse width modulation. Well, it is pulse width modulation, but appears to be an analog signal. And you can do these on pin 3, 5, 6, 9, 10, and 11. I know it's hard to see. For some reason, this camera doesn't want to focus at all. Yeah, it's not being helpful at all. Um, Over here are your analog pins. You got A0 through A5, and your digital pins 0 to 13. It uses an Arduino IDE, which is an integrated development environment. Integrated development environment. Oh, I lost my words there for a minute. So this is going to be the board that I will be doing most of the teaching with and explaining how an Arduino works. It's not going to be the board used in a night. I'll show you that board in a second, but it can be put on one of these, and this is basically a breadboard. It can bolt on here, and then I can build different breadboard circuits with this breadboard. So go back in. So this is the solderless breadboard. You can stick components in it like that, and they can do various things. You can use jumper wires to hook up from the ports of an Arduino to different points on a solderless breadboard, which I will show in future videos. If you look at these solderless breadboards, all these right here are connected. All these are connected, but not these and these unless you put a jumper wire. And then here on your power and this is your power and ground bus, all the ones along the red side are connected, and then all the ones along the blue side are connected, not with each other, but with themselves. That's basically how a solderless breadboard works. And we looked at the Uno. Now I want to show you a slightly larger version of the Uno, and that is the Mega. Zoom out so we can get a size comparison. The Mega has a lot more digital pins. It has a lot more PWM. It has 13 PWM pins, a lot more communication ports. It looks like 16 analog ports. And then it has 56 digital ports. I'm actually going to be using this Mega to program an EEPROM for a breadboard 8-bit computer I'm working on the side. There will be videos on that eventually, hopefully. Hoping so. I changed my studio around, so now maybe I can get more videos out more regularly. So that's the Mega. I just wanted to show you that they have a larger board with more inputs. But like I said, the Uno is what we're going to do most of our learning on and programming on, because the actual this is the actual board that is going to go into the Castellan Knight or the Valiant. I still haven't decided. It is significantly smaller than the Adreno Uno. This is the Nano. They also have a smaller Pro Mini. If I need to go that route, I will go that route. I don't currently have an Adreno Pro Mini because it doesn't have the USB built into it, the USB to serial. There's the chip right there on that. So you can hook it to the computer program, but you have to have an FTDI breakout board to program the Pro Mini. But I may go that route in the end because I might have to install a port in a different location on the Knight for power, recharging the batteries, and whatnot. But let's take a look at this Nano. See if this will let me zoom in and focus. Is it? There we go. So as you can see, it has basically the same pins as the Adreno Uno, but it has two more analog pins. It goes from A0 to A7, and then the digital pins go from the TX, RX, and then it goes to pins 2 through 12. Now, Adreno is open source software, so there are a lot of different boards, different manufacturers of the boards. 90% of the time, the boards are exactly the same as a general original genuine board. I suggest just to support Adreno so we can get updates and more products and things. If you're going to buy one, at least buy one original board. I believe I own one original Mega, and I own 2 or 3 of the original Unos. I do not own any of the Nanos, but if I do go the Pro Mini route, I will go with the original Adreno Pro Mini just to support Adreno because of they have such great products, and you can tell it's a genuine of all the data. You can see it's open source. This comes from Italy, so that is basically the basics on the microcontroller for the Knight project. So that's that. Excuse me. Now let's talk about this this Mega. Excuse me. Let's talk about this Mega here. Now, I just want to touch on one of the other projects that I'm working on, and this is going to be a brief overview for both the Knight project and the breadboard computer I'm making. And the breadboard computer is inspired by Ben Eater. He has a incredible YouTube channel that goes into step-by-step depth of building a 8-bit breadboard computer, and I highly recommend watching it if you're into any kind of electronics, logic gates, and things like that. And he basically is building it all out of IC chips. And the only thing he does use a microcontroller to program the command logic EEPROMs and I believe the digital display EEPROM Okay, there I got cut off there from the software. That was weird. So there we go. So that is, I don't know where it cut me off at, but I was talking about Ben Eater, and he's building a 8-bit computer out of basic 74 series logic chips, and he used the Arduino to program the EPROMs. Like this is an EPROM chip. This is a 256K EPROM. I'm putting a little bit more memory in my 8-bit computer. I'm doing a lot of changes actually. He used a lot of the LS series logic, and mostly he used LS series 4-bit logic. And I'm using some 4-bit, but I'm also using some 8-bit. And I'm going to use the Mega to program the EPROM because of all the digital outputs. I can I have just more pins and more locations to program that. He uses a nano, and he basically uses every single pin with some shift registers and things like that. And the way he programmed it was a little bit above what I'm able to do programming. But if you take a look here, this is my computer clock circuit. It uses a 555 timer, and this is going to be the program counter. Um, Uses different some 74 HC series, some 74 LS series, two LS series. It's got an output to the bus, an input from a bus system, and basically I'm gonna be making bunch up of these little breadboards with different sections of the computers, and then they're gonna just click together. Like here is a register. It's got some registers on it. It's going to have using this bar graph to display what's in the register. And then before I hook up the control circuits to test it, basically these buttons and these micro switches are going to be my chip enable, my reset, my clear, and enable output. I'm going to have a button for also. Just basically so I can just run the computer by pushing buttons for each step, and then before the control logic set up, just to make sure everything's running correctly. And I have more time to learn how to program that EEPROM, because that's basically the one concept I'm having a hard time grasping is the detailed programming of the EEPROMs. So that's what I'll be using the Mega for. And I believe in the next video I'm going to go through some breadboard circuits you can do, some simple programs you can upload onto the Arduinos to make them do stuff. I mean, there's the possibilities on these are, I would say limitless, but I'm assuming someone will correct me and there are limits. But I microcontroller wise, there are sensors, there are breakout boards, there are libraries in the software. I'll show you some of the breakout stuff. I mean, right here, oops, didn't mean to bump the camera. Right here are just, these are all potentiometers, switches, capacitors, 3-color LEDs. This is one of the OLED screens that I may possibly use for the life total on the night. I also have a different size, which is more rectangular and taller. This one's slightly longer. I don't know, about the same length. So one's taller. I can put it on there larger, but basically that's the OLED displays. But there's, like, here is a micro servo, sorry, that the Arduino can control. I'm thinking about putting one of these in the hip joint so we can just turn a little bit side to side on a pre-programmed output. You know, there's even crazy things for these Adrenos, like this is a joystick module. It's basically like what was in like the old PlayStation controllers. You know, it goes all different ways. It's got a button in it. I believe this is based on a PlayStation 2 joystick, maybe a 3. I'm not 100% sure. But basically it has 5 outputs, a power, ground, um, an XY, and a switch. And that basically plugs into the pins of these Adrenos, and you can have it do things. So, you know, you can remote control things. We're working on a lot of different things with my son. He likes, you know, all the different robots and gizmos and gadgets. Um, there's also different displays. This is a 4-digit display. I may use this in the computer project instead of 4 larger single displays. Also thinking about, instead of 4 of these, I'm going to use 1 of these for my output on my 8-bit computer. Show you one of these sound buzzers. This is a little sound buzzer. I could play a little sound, you know. I have some different ideas for a sound mode and a non-sound mode for the robot. You know, little timers in there to tell you how long you've been playing if you're doing a tournament. You know, it's going to have all the bells and whistles, basically, literally bells and whistles. Just because I want to see if I can do it. You know, and I want to learn how these electronics work and stuff. So I want to, you know, my son's taking robotics next year in school, so I want to, you know, be able to help him with his homework, and you know, it's always good to learn something new. Well, that's not going back together. It actually did. Never mind. So back to the Adreno. This is the microcontroller. That's about all I have for right now. I'll hopefully have another video for soon with this new setup. I have to make a few changes on a couple of things, but other than that, you guys have a great day. Oh, I did start some Age of Sigmar, building a Deepkin army, the Fish People. The Fish People called to me. So I am learning Age of Sigmar, and I am starting to do Fish People. So might be some updates on that later. I'm going to be getting back to my Adeptus Mechanicus assembly, and I have assembled and painted, mostly painted, a Custodes army. So I got, you know, got some colors on them. I went with Screamer Pink on the hair, on the plumes actually, and on the, all my fully painted ones are in my play bag. But here's a bike. It's got the Screamer Pink on its tails. These aren't completely finished yet. The more complete ones are in my play bag for when I go up to the Warhammer store and play. Oh, I got the base colors on a Rhino. I'm gonna have to move this up. Wow, these Rhinos are Land Raider, not a Rhino. So Land Raider, you know, got the base gold on it. You know, working on that. Got to get the red or Screamer Pink on it and whatnot, things like that. So that's it for this update. Stay tuned. I'm going to try to get more videos out more regularly with this new setup. And for Crazy Gamers Games, I'm the Crazy Gamer. Everybody have a great day.